Boyfriend wants me to be religious. TDLR. Boyfriend wants me to change my beliefs to stay together. My 26F boyfriend, 27M, of 3 months wants me to convert to Roman Catholic. I am not religious at all. I'm not Baptist, or Methodist or anything else. I stopped going to church when I was 16 and no longer believe in religion. This was brought up on the first date and he said he was fine with it. But as we started getting a little more serious, he revealed it is actually a big deal to him, even a deal breaker. That I would need to convert to Roman Catholic at some point for this to be a long-term relationship. I told him I am in no way comfortable with that and he needs to accept me as I am or break up with me. He refuses to end the relationship because he really sees a future with me if we could get over this one little hurdle. He says either he would need to stop believing or I would need to start, and he sees the potential for either to happen. I really care about this man, but I cannot and will not convert. And I don't know if I can be in a relationship that has stipulations on it. What happens if we put this on the back burner? It will just be more heartbreaking down the line. I need advice please on if there is any way for this to work without either of us needing to change our beliefs. I have never and would never ask him to change what he thinks about religion, so I'm really hurt that he can't accept me as I do him. Update. Yes, I broke up with him. He was sad but understood and had no hard feelings. He really is not a bad guy and would make a great partner to a nice Roman Catholic girl. That will just never be me. Religion is one of the major potential relationship incompatibilities. You probably need to break up, especially since he's being pushy about it. Sorry. No. Religion is typically a deal-breaker item. If you sweep it under the rug in the hope that one of you will change, then it will fester and blow up later. If one of you suppresses yourself to go along with the other, it breeds resentment and will come to light later. Y'all both are just wasting time. End it already while it's still early. His religion is part of his life and you have every right to not want to convert but have to accept that this relationship is over because of this huge difference. Fundamental incompatibility. Let him go. He says either he would need to stop believing or I would need to start, and he sees the potential for either to happen. Well, isn't this presumptuous of him? He's essentially telling you that you don't know your own mind. He definitely, 100% thinks it is going to be you who bends. There's no way someone whose religion is a core tenet of their life is going to reconsider. He just thinks he can convince you. It's only been 3 months. This is a massive deal-breaker, and it's disrespectful that he's told you he thinks you might change your mind even after you explicitly said you would not. Move on. This is not an issue that's going to go away. I don't understand people who want to try and force a belief on someone. I'm a Christian. I wouldn't want someone to convert just to convert. It defeats the whole purpose. Someone should only convert if they truly believe. This is a deal breaker. No one should ever convert or join a religion just to please a partner. And no loving partner would pressure their loved one to join something they don't believe in. It's time to break up. You're an atheist for 3,000 gods. He's an atheist for 2,999 gods. Ask him if he would be willing to convert to Zoroastrianism or to worship the Greek pantheon. It would be exactly the same thing he's asking you to do. Boyfriend thinks he's dying but refuses to go to the doctor. This has been going on for months but recently started getting worse. My 24F boyfriend, 26M, refuses to go to the doctor. It started when his left side began hurting. After extensive Google searches we concluded, even after he insisted it was stomach cancer, rib cancer, lung cancer, etc. He thought it was everything, it was just a pulled abdominal muscle. It's gone from a sharp pain to a dull pain, so it's getting better and aligns with pulled muscle symptoms. A few weeks ago, he claims his armpits are swollen and the cancer has moved into his lymph nodes. I think he's just overthinking things, but he is in a depressed state almost all the time and he barely gets any sleep just because he thinks about it too much. Fast forward to this week, his mom schedules him a doctor's appointment for Wednesday and she told him today about it. He's been in such a sour mood all night and has already told me he's going to cancel it. I just don't understand why he won't go. He worries about a bad diagnosis, but none of his symptoms leads me to believe it'll be bad. He's convinced he's dying and even said today he needs to work on his will. I just don't know what to say to him anymore that'll convince him to go to his doctor's appointment so they can tell him that he's healthy. Edit. Thank you all so much for your responses. Your advice is so incredibly helpful. I'm going to talk to him today about his doctor's appointment and try to convince him to go, at least for his anxiety. This is anxiety. It does not make sense because it is not logical. He needs a psychologist and psychiatrist, but he will need to be honest with them. He might not think to mention some parts of his anxiety if it seems normal to him. Sounds like he has some really serious anxiety, but it's incredibly common and it's treatable. If he won't see a doctor about it, then perhaps you could get some books about it. He might see himself in them. Psychiatrist recommended. First of all, you should check out health anxiety. This is a thing, and the fact that he refuses to go see a doctor is most likely related to that as well. He probably doesn't want to go because he doesn't want to deal with the fact that something might actually be wrong, aka validating his fear. You should talk to him about this, maybe show him a few posts. Maybe he feels crazy as it's a new thing, or maybe this has happened to him before. I know it helped me knowing other people think like this. Lastly, like mentioned by everyone else, I think he should see a psychologist. Health anxiety can ruin his and your life. He sounds like me and my health anxiety. This is 100% not something you alone can fix. Also, I've noticed that over time, I can actually give myself symptoms if I believe it enough. It's so annoying. He clearly has medical anxiety. Google is your worst enemy with people like this, so keep him off the internet. A pain in the side is either a strained muscle or kidney cancer, like come on. He needs mental help. I mean, let him work on his will. Maybe it will make him feel better. But he also needs to talk to a doctor and a therapist, maybe one who is experienced in anxiety and specifically medical anxiety. Pay attention to the advice you're getting here. You cannot be his doctor, his therapist, or his enabler. He has to tackle this himself, with some encouragement from friends and family. After he sees a medical doctor for a checkup, he needs to get with a psychiatrist and work on himself. There are people who spend their entire lives doing this and they live for a long time. You don't want to be entangled in this if he's not going to try to work on it. Look, this is health anxiety. I had this. Go to the doctor. It's probably nothing, plus the amount of anxiety he has will generate new symptoms. Please go to the doctor, so he can be convinced that he has nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean it. Everything he feels might be because of his anxiety. After that, go to a therapist. My 25F boyfriend, 27M, lied about being vaccinated. Too long did not read. I work in healthcare directly with children, and boyfriend lied about being vaccinated. I met a guy a few months back and we hit it off pretty well. Everything seemed to be going well, and of course the conversation of vaccines came up pretty early because, well, of course it did. I work directly in healthcare with kids and I'm not going to get into a vaccine argument here because everyone has their own opinions. I shared I had been vaccinated early because I work in healthcare, and then he told me he had been vaccinated in May with J&J, showed me his card, and everything. We were drinking the night he showed me the card, and I was pretty drunk but just glanced at it and thought to myself, great, that makes me feel better. He works with a lot of unvaccinated, unmasked people while I work directly with one of the most vulnerable populations. I like to keep myself safe. That doesn't mean I'm asking everyone their vaccine status, but if you tell me you're vaccinated, I'll likely have my guard down for obvious reason. Yes, I know vaccinated people can still catch it, spread it, but we also know the literature tells us it is less likely, less deadly, severe. Anyways, the other day he told me he wasn't feeling good and I forgot when he had gotten vaccinated, so I asked him and he told me, oh yeah, I lied about that, I'm not really vaccinated. I don't believe in that stuff. I was floored. I have been intimate with this person, and he lied to me about something so serious. I could have brought in the disease to my patients and passed it on to them. I'm pretty upset and I did not really know what to say to him because he knows how I feel about the situation at hand. I just encouraged him to get vaccinated, but he still refused. Things have not been the same, as I am not as interested in him anymore. Lying about such an important part, in my situation, is such a red flag, and it has only been a few months. He lied so early and then kept the lie up for a couple months and never thought to say anything beforehand. It makes me wonder else he has lied about. Any advice? Update. I went off on him last night. He's been blocked and reported to his employer. Regardless of your stance on COVID and vaccines, there's no reason he should be lying to you about things like that. What else is he lying about or will lie about? Dump the liar. He knew what you do for a living and that was important, and lied to manipulate and keep you. He then told you he lied about it as if it was as minor as him leaving socks on the floor. Yeah, he would lie about anything. Also, for the future, how would him not believing in that stuff work with your line of work? With future kids, etc.? The most important takeaway here is that he knew something mattered to you quite a bit and would affect how you conducted yourself, and yet he lied anyway. It doesn't matter what it was about. B.C. Lord knows there's so much debate over the vaccines. He's a liar, and the fact he was so nonchalant about it is gross. You can do better. He knows you work with a huge vulnerable population, and he seems to have a fake vaccine card to boot. If the card you saw was his vaccine card, he's a liar and intentionally put you and your patients at risk. Dump him, and make sure to tell him why. What else does he or will he lie about? STD status? Who knows? Please dump him. Lying about a public health issue is insane, especially when hundreds of thousands of people have died from the virus. Also consider reporting him for a fake vaccine card. Drop him. He's a liar. You are allowed to have standards for yourself and your partner. Considering your vocation and livelihood, you should seriously consider walking away. He did not respect you. At all. Our 6-month-old has a bigger palate than my husband, 26M, and I'm 23F, at the end of my rope. Just to give some context, I love food. I love cooking it, trying new cuisines and learning about cultures through their foods, all of that good stuff. For the most part, if it won't eat me first, I'll give it a try. My husband, however, gave me a list of 3 things when I asked him what vegetables he did eat. He has major issues with textures in foods. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't have any sensory issues other than that, nothing diagnosed. He did an amazing job in Japan for our honeymoon. We've expanded his horizons to shrimp tempura rolls, with nothing else, and the occasional steak taco in the 5 years we've known each other. He understands how much I love food, and if I'm craving something, we work together to make sure we can at least sit across from a table and eat. I'm so sick of eating out, there is nowhere good that's worth the money. It seems like he's most willing to eat his family's cultural dishes, and I wanted our child to experience them, as well, so I learned to make them. When I'm cooking, though, it just feels like I'm pouring so much effort into something for him to find the slightest issue with his meal and then not eat at all, and then an hour later he'll ask me if I want to order food. It's demoralizing. I learned how to make a cultural staple that I know he loves, and he doesn't eat it because I missed a fishbone and he got made fun of for choking on fishbones as a kid. I learned how to make another staple that works as a pretty universal side. I used more coconut milk, after driving across town to make sure I got the right coconut milk, than his mom, and I don't even think they tried the meat because it didn't look the same as when his mom makes it. I don't understand how our child is more willing to eat things than a grown man. Baby girl smashed some dates for the first time, today, and she doesn't balk at the appearance of her purees, she's just happy to eat like her mom. It makes me not even want to cook anymore. I don't want him to be forced to eat something he doesn't like. But I'm so sick of trying so hard to find him the things he does like only for him not to eat it because of some little detail I would overlook for him. He has impossible standards, and he doesn't cook. I am so sick of worrying about what my husband is going to eat. We do talk about the things that bother us in our marriage. I just found myself struggling to fall back asleep and starting to feel a type of way. I'd kind of just found the words for how I was feeling. I feel like I'm giving so much of myself and trying to compromise, and I think he does try to compromise, but I just don't see him putting in that same level of effort. I keep having waves of feeling like there's 2 children in this home, and that's something he does know about and we've since addressed and worked on. It just seems I've found a new source of that feeling. Obviously he's going to hear about this later. What would you do? I kind of feel like I'm done cooking for him, at least for now. Edit. You guys are right that I'm putting a lot of pressure and responsibility on myself for a grown man. I think it ties into my love language being acts of service. I would love to make meals we all can sit down and enjoy together, and I love to express my love for people and empathize with them through my food. And that's why I've tried so hard thus far, honestly. That doesn't mean I'll continue to do so, but just to provide a bit of insight. I think your husband might benefit from seeing a therapist. A lot of his aversions seem to be psychological. The moment he complained about your food because it wasn't exactly like his mother's is when the problem became not his picky eating, but his rudeness and his acting like a petulant child. I get the urge to cook and serve your loved ones, I really do. But this love language of yours will not get satisfied unless it is fully appreciated. Save the acts of service for your daughter, and let him fend for himself. There is absolutely no rule saying everyone has to eat the same thing. Let him sort out his own dinner. I ran into a similar problem because we had odd schedules, weren't interested in eating at the same time, and my husband went on a restrictive diet. We started meal planning and stocked the fridge with a few different meals every Sunday. You grab the meal you want when you want it. It is significant other damn liberating. No more angst. Don't cook for him. Cook for you and your daughter. He can cook for himself or eat a sandwich. His takeout covers from his fun money budget. You have enabled the little prince to do no cooking but sit there and whine about every little thing. You have an actual child to take care of now. You feel like you have 2 children because you are doing all of the emotional labor and food-related labor. Stop cooking for him. If he has so many restrictions on what he is willing to eat, then he can make food for himself. Don't let him nitpick when you are doing your best. Tell him point blank that you will not be making anything for him and that he needs to figure out meals for himself. Also, make sure your daughter doesn't picking up his habits. I personally suffer from ARFID and that could be an explanation for what is going on here. He should see a therapist or a doctor and do some research himself to see if this fits. However, I would not expect my partner to cook for me to accommodate my insane dietary needs. We cook separately and it works better that way. There is no pressure on me to eat something I don't like to make him feel better, and I can't offend him by not eating his cooking if there is something I can't tolerate in it. Hypnotherapy worked wonders for me and it doesn't really bother me anymore, so would recommend that if it does turn out to be more than just pickiness. I mean, I was thinking he has sensory issues when it comes to food, but since he has no problem eating takeout meals, then it sounds like he's just fussy, rude and unwilling to try to change. Could your husband have ARFID? My partner has it and a lot of this sounds like their experience. I would look into it.